A lot of conversations are happening on X and in the Tesla investor community, as well as on YouTube. What is actually going on after this earnings call with the central question that is the all-decisive question for the stock and also for the future of transportation? Is Robotaxi happening? Is it now totally delayed? Or is it absolutely on track? And the influencers who believe we are going to scale to 10,000 plus, like Herbert, for example, are correct. So I want to take a little bit of time today to look at these questions and look at the evidence on the ground that has accumulated since the earnings call, which is only a week, less than a week, and what we see on the ground happening and why I believe people are not seeing the forest between the trees. So here is a great post by Christopher Dungeon, who has aggregated some photos and made some commentary on the latest. Let's go to that. So first here we have Nick Cruz actually showing the Cybercab from the side. And he shows the Cybercab where you see, look, it has these weird wheels. It has steel wheels in the front and then aluminum wheels in the back. And also these caps are coming on later, and a lot of the production versions we see. Now rolling off the conveyor belt or the unboxed production line don't have these caps. So what is going on with these wheels? And does it tell us something about the actual plan of Cybercab? And do these little things, these little signs of engineering prowess or strategy actually reveal something about the greater picture of Robotaxi rolling out and Cybercab being the central indicator of progress? And I think the answer is yes. And I will explain to you why and what we can learn and deduct all the way to potentially understanding the production plan. So here is what we see. You know, we have smaller wheels in the front, larger wheels in the back. In the front we have steel, in the back we have aluminum. Very unusual. What is actually happening? And I found this great post by Christopher Dungeon where he actually explains a little bit more what is behind that. And I will tell you what I think that actually tells us about the greater plan. So he summarizes, why do we have these different wheels? Steelies, like steel-based wheels in the front and aluminum in the back. And he starts with efficiency gains, smaller 18-inch front wheels with a narrow tire, reduce the frontal area and overall rotating mass at the front, where aerodynamic drag and steering inputs matter most. Smaller diameter means less material to spin, right? Smaller, spin less. Lowering rotational inertia. Mass farther from the axis has an outsized effect via I? Inertia equals mass times radius squared. My physics is not the greatest after all these years. This cuts energy use during constant speed cruising. Okay, which is a big part of Robotaxi routes. Narrow front also minimizes rolling resistance for added efficiency gains. Now he goes to number B. Larger 21-inch wheel on the rear increase the overall tire circumference, meaning fewer rotations per mile, which can reduce bearing wear and heat buildup. Combined with high aspect ratio 60 series tire, tall sidewall, it will maintain low rolling resistance and prioritize energy minimization, which is critical for a vehicle expected to drive 100,000 plus miles per year. I think more than that. Mixed material steel fronts are heavier but cheaper, and steel holds shapes well for hubcaps. Alloys in the rear cut unsprung weight and rotational inertia on the drive wheels where torque is applied. So that's where the motor is. Making acceleration more efficient because it's more stiff, and reducing energy loss to wheel spin up, especially important in rear wheel drive setup with instant EV torque, right? You want to translate that torque directly to the road. So ride comfort, larger rear diameter wheels, tall tire sidewalls, act like natural shock absorbers, smoothing out bumps, blah, blah, blah. B, front steelies add a bit more unsprung mass, which can help filter high frequency road noise. And then durability, he goes into handling, raked stance, rear higher due to larger diameter wheel, tire combo shifts center of gravity slightly forward, right? You go up in the rear and slides center of gravity forward, promoting stable understeer, safer for autonomy. And better weight transfer under acceleration. There you have it. Why is this all important? Because it tells you something. Let me go back to what I said. I commented on this. Too long to read. Didn't read. People tend to vastly underestimate the level of engineering prowess that goes into Tesla Cybercab, not, and here comes the point, not as a car, but as a fully integrated system of autonomous transport. What Christopher elaborated here and explained, why this setup that Nick so beautifully showed from the side, this setup, why this is so special. Very unusual setup. You don't see any other cars looking like this with different, like steel and aluminum in the back and different sizes, and then center of gravity pushed forward, and all the stuff you just heard Christopher say, which is much more sophisticated than what I could ever have said. I'm not an engineer. I'm a financial engineer, but not a mechanical or car engineer. It shows you one thing, that when Tesla builds something, they're not engineering a car. They are engineering a new reality. And as you know, what we are doing here in Pioneer Lands, go to pioneerlands.org. It is free. We want to accumulate the best investors and engineers and innovators to have a discussion about the future where we discuss these things. But why I love Tesla, why I love Elon and his approach to reality, is because they are not just engineers of things. They're not just engineers of rockets. They're not just engineers of robots. They're not just engineers of electric cars or of robotaxis. They're engineers of new realities. What is the difference? An engineer looks at a target scenario, a target reality. They are envisioning, and then they're aligning their engineering power, their math, their simulative capabilities, their economics towards that new reality. Okay? And then they try to make that reality happen. If that reality is a car, you optimize everything, the supply chains, the technology, the designs to that car. You might want to make it very fast, or you might want to make it very fuel efficient. But you're just optimizing it towards a car. If you, on the other hand, are a reality engineer, like Elon, you're saying, I'm not interested in a car, I'm not interested in a rocket, I'm not interested in a robot, I'm interested in a new future reality, in that something civilizationally and fundamentally changes. And what changes fundamentally in that civilization on the robotaxi vertical is that all transport becomes autonomous, cutting out the human suffering connected to driving for the pure driver and also for the victims of that everyone gets killed all the time, but also the costs associated with that, and freeing human ingenuity from behind the wheel to doing whatever humans can do better than just driving. That is the new reality we are engineering here, and that is the purpose of FSD, of autonomy, and Cybercab plays just a role in this whole plan. So what can we learn from that? What we see here is that this car is not engineered as a car, it is engineered for playing a crucial role and being a crucial component in that new future. And that new future is not just Cybercab, it is a future where you're sitting somewhere, standing somewhere, you're saying, I want to go from A, where I'm right now, to B, and there is a new solution that does that much cheaper, does it constantly, does it automated, and cuts out a lot of costs for everyone, brings down the cost of transport, brings transport to many more people, cuts down the time from deciding you need transport to getting to your goal, to your target destination, replaces public transport, replaces all rideshare, all taxis, replaces many trains, replaces buses, replaces cars, replaces car ownership, then goes into freight transport, replaces truck driving, replaces delivery vans, everything. And Cybercab is the first pillar in making this happen. So that explains why the Cybercab is engineered the way it is. It is not just optimized as a car, it is optimized as a component in the greater plan. And it plays its role. It brings down COGS, the operating costs, but also the manufacturing costs for that component. It optimizes the entire car for playing that specific role as a small part in a greater system. And what I said the other day is, it also explains what Tesla is doing right now. They are assuming FSD is effectively solved. The safety problem is effectively solved. We have heard that in the earnings call. From here, it's just fine-tuning of convenience without compromising safety by leveling up the FSD system. But what most people don't recognize, it is also about optimizing all kinds of other things. I just saw the other day, shared I think by Electrified, by Dylan Loomis, amazing show, where Dylan talked about things that go wrong on Cybercab and Robotaxi right now that have nothing to do with FSD. It loses connection. Screen goes black. Cars stop because some connection is broken. Not the actual AT&T connection, but the AWS connection, the server system of Tesla, for a few riders. Is that good or bad? It's part of the course. But it tells us what Tesla is doing right now. It is rolling this thing out step by step all over the place, and it's optimizing all these different components that are necessary to make the thing actually work. And Cybercab is only a small part of that, but it is an important part. FSD is only a part of it, but an important part. The cloud infrastructure and connectivity is another part. The maintenance is another part. None of these parts at this point in time represents any serious obstacle anymore. Fundamentally, all different things have been solved. And that is a revelation I had just the other day when I looked at the facts. There's nothing here anymore that is in any way a frontier type research problem. All components in principle are now in place. Everything has been fundamentally solved. The only thing we need to do now is fine-tune and calibrate all the components to play together so we don't have blackouts, we don't have Cybercab suddenly stopping, we don't have them going in circles. But the crucial things, full self-driving works, full safety works, convenience can be better, can be improved, blackouts need to be completely removed, you still can't have like 5 or 10 people sitting there. Now we are going into the optimization phase. And in this optimization phase, every incremental progress and optimization will lead to exponential scale. And that is where we are at with Cybercab. I believe we have already passed the Rubicon. We kind of have already passed the inflection point. I predicted April, May will be 1,800 Cybercabs or whatever Robotaxis. I don't think we hit that number. But we should remember that we are at 642 instead of my predicted 1,800, which is not that far off if you look at the growth rates. And my 1,800, I always said it's April, May, April/May. I didn't always say it. I moved my goalpost a little bit from April to May, probably 6 or 7 months ago. But when you look at it, we are now at 643. At a growth rate that is pretty impressive. Down here you see the unsupervised growth rate, which is crazy because this is at just January 30th. So on that growth rate, when you look at that, see the trajectory, saying, Joe, you promised us 1,800 by May. Well, it's not even May. We're at 643. And everyone says, oh my God, the world is falling apart. We have completely missed everything. FSD is not rolling out. We have Cybercab being optimized, being rolled out and being manufactured in the glossy little paint. We are at 643, probably hitting 900 or whatever. 800, I don't know how many, let's say 800 by end of May, maybe 900. We would be 50% behind my goal at a growth rate of what? 50 to 100% a month, which means we are like, let's be generous, we are 3 to 2, maybe 2 months behind my original goal. For the most transformative technology and infrastructure ever built in transportation since the invention of the wheel and then maybe the invention of the automobile. So 2 months behind schedule that I told you the schedule is a year ago, that is not very bad. That is no reason to panic. In fact, it's the reason to do the opposite, to say, wait, here's something huge going on. That is my take on the situation. I remain totally bullish. I don't know what's wrong with people and mostly retail investors. The institutions just reaffirmed their price targets after earnings. They say we are on track, everything is fine. So this time the institutions seem to be a little bit ahead of the retail investors. I think we are well positioned. I'm bullish on the stock even short term, as you all know. And I think people panicked a little bit too much, and we are on a very good track. So go to pioneerlands.org, ask me your questions. We have Sunday live seminar on pioneerlands.org on the Pioneer Academy. You can ask your questions, and then we go from there. I hope that was interesting, and see you tomorrow.